Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today. At your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about a news story that's doing the rounds of the leftist media, The Guardian, and the usual suspects. And it's about, or it alleges, that there is a widespread, all-encompassing, rampant culture of sexual oppression, misogyny, homophobic behaviour, all committed by evil, straight, white, fucking Nazi fascist men. So where does this all come from? It's in a research station that's a scientific research station that's out in some of the coldest, most frozen temperatures on the planet, and the work there's not for the faint-hearted, but there are people that work at these remote research stations in the frozen wastes of Antarctica. It's scientific research, but it's always been men. Now, not that long ago, there was a big push by the Equal Outcomes Equity Brigade that women should be working there. So, and they go on 6 or 12 month sort of assignments, but women should be working there as well because equity. Now, there was a lot of pushback at the time saying, well, it's not simply a case of it's not like going to the office every day, and if you decide you don't like it, it's a bit hard to get out, particularly during the winter months, because as I understand, for something like 5 months of the year, it's almost inaccessible due to the extreme weather, the extreme cold and blizzards and so on. So you have to be quite used to a reasonably solitary exit. There are other people there, but there may only be 20 or 30 people in the whole station during the those 5 or so months of really bad weather. So you want to be able to get on with people. You have to want the job and want to do your work and be happy with I don't know, spending time online or reading a lot of books, or maybe you've got a lot of work to do. That keeps you busy. But it is a remote existence for someone who sort of has worked in remote places. It's actually not that easy. You arrive thinking that it'll be easy, but it's actually not. You sort of end up working long hours just to occupy the day, and it doesn't mean that the other people there are necessarily people that you would choose to hang out with. So you have to work quite hard to keep relationships on an even keel. It's no good being a whimpering little victim or being an asshole or something like that. You really have to work at getting on with the people around you, or at least keeping things in a reasonably pleasant state. So anyway, there was a lot of push to get women to go out there. So finally, the government sort of said, well, hey, you don't put women out there, you're not going to get any more money. So that's how it is. So they had to roll over and put women out there. And these were women volunteers. And once they sort of started off with, the first women, as I understand, were women who you'd say were reasonably well qualified. They were mainly scientific research assistants and so on, and maybe women that weren't overly gifted at developing human relationships, but they were focused on their work and their studies and their research and so on. So it kind of seemed to work okay. But these organisations or these groups have like a supply warehouse, I suppose you'd call it. And if you want anything at all out of the warehouse, you have to sign make a request, then sign a form and so on. And this goes for anything, whether it's sugar or coffee or tea or this or that or anything other than stuff you get directly from the canteen. It's even the chef that needs the food to cook has to account for it and make the request and sign the forms, which is good prudential, and management and sensible inventory management and so on. But it's now been decided that when women, who have to ask for sanitary napkins or tampons, that sort of thing, and they have to fill out the form, that's now a form of sexual harassment of women, uniquely women. Um, so how that can be is beyond me. But anyway, it's been decided that. But once women were in there, then it was decided that women that because of equity outcomes in education, decided that women who really could had been gifted a position in the research department, simply to create equity in terms of gender quotas and all this sort of thing, and then race quotas and the like. Then it became that they wanted to add then sexual proclivity quotas. So there had to be a certain number of lesbians there, then there had to be a certain number of black, and just on it went. You know the deal now. So the type of people who were being sent out to these places weren't qualified research scientists. They were just professional race hustler, professional victims. And it seems their job was to simply create as much trouble as they could for the straight white males who were who are more numerous in the scientific establishment, particularly a place like that, which is again a tough gig, and I speak from experience on it. So anyway, there were allegedly complaints at this research station that women were being sexually harassed. That there was misogyny, there was homophobia, there was power imbalances, and there was this, that, and the next thing going on. Such were the claims. Now, what do you do when you sort of have that sort of situation there? I mean, if you were, assuming you can't investigate the complaints locally because they're a local supervisory staff and a local manager or coordinator, whatever they call it, these things, surely that could be investigated. These places usually have a pretty big human resources department, surely they could investigate it. But anyway, the human resource department, rather than investigate it, decides that what they're going to do is that the lesbian who is the lesbian lady who is herself an activist, who's head of the HR department, will hand it over to a university academic who, wouldn't you know it, is a gender studies lesbian activist academic. If you had to find someone who's at the cutting edge of activism, anti-male, anti-straight white male, anti-science, the number of men in science, anti-men and white men and straight white men in every way possible, at the cutting edge, the zenith of the activist scale, then you'd pick her, or this lesbian, and this angry, butch dyke, brutish, I hate all men lesbian, and you give her the job of doing an investigation and making a report. And the report is just an exercise on how wicked and evil men are. Now, it's a bit short on detail, so it says things like, has any woman been assaulted or raped? Well, no. So straight away we're dealing with lower level stuff here. There's some women who claim that there are some men there that asked them if they were interested in having sex. Now, I don't know. I wouldn't call that criminal unless it was done with great public vulgarity. If it was quietly asked, if people seem to be getting on well, are you interested? Not the sort of thing I would suggest for the workplace. But remember, some of these people are here for the best, 6 months without, be able to leave. So, or 12 months in the case of a longer assignment. So when men and women are together, assuming they're both straight, when men and women are together and they seem to be getting on okay professionally, and given the isolation that question gets asked, I'd hardly classify that as criminal. I don't think it's the right thing to do in the workplace, by the way, but nonetheless, I wouldn't see that as criminal. The other evil things done by these evil straight white men, these fascist Nazis, these Hitlers, is that some of the humour they've used may have a sexual innuendo. Ooh, that's fucking bad. And then you look at it, it sounds like the little schoolgirl is telling little tales to mummy and daddy. Billy Bob wouldn't let me play with his toys. It's that level of silliness, in my view, at least. So I can't see that there was any misogyny. They're pushing lesbians in there, equality, equity, the black lesbians. Now, these are people who are waved through who probably wouldn't even make it out of high school, let alone into college and let alone into science. So they're vigorously forcing this change on STEM. We've got to get rid of these fucking straight white males. They're all Nazis. And the way we can do that is putting black lesbians everywhere. Equity. And so they're inviting the very trouble that they're now complaining about and running around in circles about. So this is a case where this is such the left. They've just got this playbook they do it every time. You put one lesbian into a company of 1,000 people, then everybody has to tiptoe around there, and they're all homophobic, misogynist Nazis because of that one person who's been inserted in there for the sole purpose of spreading mayhem and creating drama and just otherwise creating social division. So that's just the playbook, and I don't know why we're still falling for it, really. So you've got these low qualified activists being put out there for the sole purpose of making complaints, so that then lesbian academics can come in and say, "Look, you see, they're all Nazis." Now, the lesbian produced a report that, you could have written the report before it was even time. It just ticks all the lesbian activist, gender activist box. You knew what it was going to say before the first word was even written. And women are oppressed, power imbalances, evil man, must be more women, must be more lesbians. Women should be able to accuse any man there of anything, and it has to be treated as fact. That man has to be fired, cashiered, his career ruined because he's a fucking Nazi, and this sort of thing. Well, what about if a man likes to complain about a woman? And what's your honour? Oh no, this is one way, buddy, not both ways. There should be no investigation. The man shouldn't be presumed as innocent until proven guilty. Nothing at all. No, he's fucking out. That damn fascist Nazi. So these sort of reports are. If there has been ill-conceived humour, and maybe there was, by the way, I don't know, if there was requests for, are you interested in having consensual sex, then, again, inappropriate for the workplace, but given the isolation of circumstances, I'm kind of not surprised. Why don't they have a separate station for women only? That's a way to honour. No. We have to put the women in there to expose the bad behaviour of these evil fascist Nazis. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of evil that they inflict on themselves and the problem they create, and they then run around having twerking like crazy about all these evil, homophobic, misogynist men. It's just absolute nonsense. It's so childish and so stupid and just so fucking predictable. So this is what's doing the rounds at the moment. But the only thing they're saying is women must have much more freedom, and men must have much more controls placed upon them, and then that's going to create equity somehow. The insanity of the world today. Seriously, you've been with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for listening.